Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bread and Burgers. This is episode 5, and I'm John.
I'm Jonas.
And if you're a returning customer, welcome back. And if you are a first timer, welcome. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's the podcast, whether it's YouTube. Just a big thank you to you guys. We are talking about burgers and everything life.
Burgers and everything life. Sounds like a slogan if I ever heard one. So, before we jump into all of the burger stuff, which I know everyone's kind of riveted to hear about, we've been getting a little bit of feedback in that since we're both full-time ministers, we both work for churches for a living. People were kind of expecting a little more like religion talk, right? Like, how come we're not talking about Jesus more? Um, I don't know if that's something we have the time to kind of discuss now, but just kind of as a quick like what's going on in your life in your church or whatever is going on, John.
Well, I mean, again, we're in California, we're in the Bay Area, we're locked down, shelter in place. And again, that's part of what we want to do, right? We want to stay safe and also stay safe for our community. So effectively, everything is moved online at the moment in terms of like Sunday service and just our meeting. Actually, today my eldest daughter had a Zoom video conference birthday party for one of her friends. So we're really trying to just follow what the county health officials have been saying, that if we're keeping our physical distance, that's going to help with the current issue, the current pandemic. Aside from that, we're trying to look for ways to engage community. I went to my backyard and said hi to my neighbor and said, hey, if there's anything that you need or anything you need to pray for, I'm here. Just trying to be there even though we're physically not together and not present. But it's really uncharted territory, right? In terms of I don't know if our viewers, you guys understand like a lot of what we do in a church setting, is we're coming together, we're really trying to transform lives and make people have a positive change, because of Jesus, right? I'm not going to be preachy about it, but we're really trying to engage with one another and have life transformation, but not being able to be together is a little tough. So really, that's kind of what we've been going through this past 2 weeks or so. What about you, Jonas?
Cool. Yeah, so similarly, here in Massachusetts, things are pretty much on lockdown. I think the official word is that our governor doesn't want to enact an official shelter in place, but strongly advises everyone to just stay home.
Okay.
So effectively, it's pretty much the same thing. I think for church, we've just been really trying to adjust to doing everything online. Working with teenagers more, I kind of feel like they're a little more okay in terms of just like changing the medium of how they do things, but there still is the challenge of really engaging them at a deeper level. It's less of a I just kind of flipped on the church channel and I'm running it in the background kind of thing,
Yeah.
and that counts as my church and
It's like my spiritual
for
life is fulfilled, right? Because I tuned in
I
to a
right.
TV or whatever.
Yeah, and so for me personally, it's figuring out like what's that deeper level of engagement. How do I do that? Leveraging a lot of these tools. There definitely are a lot of conversations that I've had over Zoom that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise, which I'm really grateful for. But at the same time, just kind of figuring out uh, ways to not necessarily replace, but to kind of
Keep connected, maybe.
yeah, to sort of draw in more of that sort of deeper level relation that is more than just kind of um, Snapchats or Discord chats sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because I know like teenagers I work with, they're already very connected, but just kind of bringing it to that deeper level, like face to face sort of communication. So really figuring out how we can leverage a lot of these tools and being very intentional about doing that.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, and again, just a full disclosure too. I used to work in a big software company, and going, using like Zoom, using like like video conferencing stuff. It's good. It's a good tool, but it's just not the same as kind of physically coming together. Because a lot of times it's the water cooler chats. It's the you know chit chat, next to your desk, next to the lunch breaks, all that. That is where life happens. And so sometimes, having a formal or even a more informal kind of video setting is not easy, right? But, kind of giving you guys kind of just a brief update of where we're at, what we're doing. And even now, I understand too that, as we're doing YouTube, as we're doing podcasting, we're trying to just bring a slice of life, from our side, to you guys, so that you can kind of see like, oh, hey, what's going on in the rest of the United States, or maybe the rest of the world.
Definitely.
Yeah. So again, we talked about in our previous episodes a few things about what a burger is, what's a good burger, what are the fixings, and we want to explore more other topics, perhaps how we rate someone's burger, like if we watch a Gordon Ramsay video together and then try to rate his burger, or cook it again. But still, there's one more major component to a burger that we haven't talked about, and we do need to, and that is condiments. What is a condiment, and what's a good condiment for a burger? So really, that's kind of where we're at today. So we're gonna throw the ball again. I'm gonna throw the ball to Jonas and say, hey, Jonas, what's a condiment?
So to me, right, if we review a little bit of what we talked about, a burger is made up foundationally of meat and bread, right? And for us, we decided, some sort of ground beef and a nice bun.
Mm-hmm.
To me, all the stuff you add on top of it then accentuates the flavor. And we talked about fixings last time, such as lettuce, tomato, and that sort of thing. And so the way I look at it, and this is kind of a broad generalization, I think the distinction kind of gets a little blurry in some cases, but fixings and condiments are kind of two sides of the same coin. Like, they both help the burger, but they do it in different ways. And so for me, fixings are a lot more about texture. So you want the crunchy lettuce, right? Or you want kind of there's just something about like that there's a little chew and that stringiness to like a good melted cheese, or that sort of fresh tomato. And it's a little more about texture. It's not to say that it's 100% about texture, but as opposed to the contrast with condiments, which are a little more about flavor, right? They change the flavor profile. And so typically when I think of condiments, it's more of like some kind of a saucy kind of thing that you put on top of a burger that adds a specific flavor you're looking for to the burger as a whole.
Yeah, okay, that kind of works. So for me, it's probably the same thing. It's sauce. I always think of sauce like mayo, ketchup, maybe mustard. So something like that, right? So it kind of glues the fixings and the bread and the beef together. So like again, that glue, if you see like the Food Network and they say, oh, it needs something to bring it all together, right? To me, that's kind of what it is. I'm sure that everybody, our listeners or viewers, have had your backyard barbecue. Hey, here's your burger, right? And it's just like a bun, a patty, cheese, and technically you can put your own fixings and also your own condiments on, but ultimately it's just kind of like there's something missing there. So to like for me, of course, the typical condiment would be like mustard, mayo, or maybe ketchup, but it could be so much more. secret sauce, for McDonald's or In and Out or all the other higher upper scale burger places, that the secret sauce is what makes the burger coherent.
So yeah, secret sauce is actually really cool because the thing is the kind of not so secret thing about secret sauce are the two main ingredients in secret sauce. So it's actually not that hard to make your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is. I would encourage a lot of people, if you're ever making your own burgers, it's really easy to make your own secret sauce, and it's just a question of like what kind of flavor profiles do you want. But the base ingredients for secret sauce are ketchup and mayo.
Right, right. Or some sort of Thousand Island like, sauce, right?
Right. And so to make your own, essentially, it's you just kind of find the right balance of ketchup and mayo, mixing it together, and then you add other stuff as needed. If you want some more kick, maybe you add a little bit of pepper. If you want some more kind of tangy or sweetness, maybe you add some kind of sweeter thing, such as maybe a relish, or if you feel like more tang and you want something cut through, you add some kind of acid, that sort of thing. And it's really very versatile. You can play with it, but yeah, at its core, it's ketchup and mayo. I think those are the two most basic condiments we could probably get to.
Yeah, and it's important, right? That is ketchup and mayo, because let's dissect them a little bit, right? For mayo, there's a little bit of lightness, right? A little bit of richness at the same time, but also creaminess that adds to that burger. And for ketchup, there is that tanginess, and of course, ketchup is not just tomato sauce. If for you guys who think, oh, ketchup is tomato, no. There's vinegar, right? There's also other spices, onion powder, all inside ketchup. That kind of brings that flavor up a little notch, right? So ketchup, for the most part, adds tanginess, but also adds complexity, to the burger itself. So for me, I think ketchup and mayo kind of adds that. Now, of course, there's mustard, Dijon, deli, what have you, right, as well.
So where are you on mustard? Like I'll be frank, like growing up, I wasn't a big mustard fan, but for some reason on burgers, right? Like I was on board with mustard actually before I was on board with mayo.
Okay. Yellow, like French's mustard,
Sure.
not a huge fan.
Okay.
Partly because a lot of people do it wrong. And also, they don't shake the mustard jar before they actually add it on, so all that mustard water gets into the bun and gets soggy again. The soggy bun thing, from the first episode. Yeah, like I think that mustard is good, but it has to be something special. So I would say like deli, for example, or French mustard, not French's, but French mustard. That kind of thing kind of helps elevate that. And again, for specific burgers, I actually don't put it on quite a bit. Like for me, if I want grilled onions, I probably don't want mustard on my burger. But if I have raw onions, which not often, but if I have raw onions, I probably would.
Yeah, I think mustard is one of those things like where we see the burger and the sandwich realm kind of mixing together. I think unlike a sandwich though, I would never want mustard as kind of the primary condiment. Like there's nothing but mustard on this burger, or even just like mustard and mayo where mustard is the primary flavor, right? Mayo I think is more of a neutral flavor, which is why it kind of works with almost any condiment pairing, because what it does is the fat just kind of thickens up the sauce a little, so it's not so like runny with especially if you use like a more watery kind of sauce base. So yeah, I would never do mustard, like just mustard
Yeah.
flavor on a burger. I'd always want it with something else.
And again, like for me, ketchup and mustard goes on a hot dog rate. Burger, not so much. So yeah, like so it kind of we're kind of diving into that a little bit, but what is the best or wildest condiment you've ever had on a burger?
The best condiment. So I think at this point, like I'm already kind of at this. The best one I had is probably kind of one of those borderline condiment slash fixings,
Okay.
which is there's this chili relish
Hmm.
that I had at this burger place in Seattle that was just amazing. Like it had the right amount of just a little bit of hint of heat. It's not extraordinarily hot. It had a good tang to it, and it just kind of brought rounded out the whole burger really, really well.
Okay.
How about
Okay.
you?
Well, again, it depends, right? I mean, I hate to say
Sure.
that, but um, in terms of a say a southwestern style burger, then I would say a good tangy, nice heat kind of barbecue sauce that would top it. Because again, you can have barbecue sauce, and you can
Mm-hmm.
have like a a very very tangy kind of it tingles your mouth kind of thing. That
Mm-hmm.
kind of barbecue sauce that goes great on brisket, goes great on on sometimes on pulled pork, that kind of thing. I had it once where it was added to the burger, and I thought it was just amazing. So barbecue sauce, if I'm going for Western style, but actually, I've gravitated towards this one. When I make my own burgers, I follow a recipe. The link will be down below. It's actually a recipe by a chef called Chris Santos, and it's a black pepper Jägermeister special sauce. So what it is, I'll read it off here: is 2/3 cup mayo, quarter cup mustard, quarter cup ketchup, and this so it sounds like secret sauce, right? And then the special thing about it is one shot of Jägermeister. So
Okay.
Jägermeister is this kind of German digestive that is actually the star anise kind of flavor, which is or black licorice flavor if for those of you who don't know, which is not that great in terms of flavor wise. I don't like black licorice because it's like it just tastes like a tree bark and stuff like that. Um, but as I added this to this secret sauce, it rounded it out. It gave a little bit of bitterness to the sauce, and then also a little bit of aromatics, herbaceous kind of flavor, and that kind of made the sauce like very very special. Of course, the last ingredient was a teaspoon of black pepper. So the black pepper Jägermeister sauce, like really that would be my number one right now. For generally, just
Yeah,
putting on a burger.
that's actually a pretty cool kind of sauce concept in general. Like I've seen iterations of it where it's not necessarily Jägermeister, but some kind of like liqueur
Mm-hmm.
that is used in kind of a black peppercorn sauce, or even like a barbecue sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like it just there is a little kind of something extra that is added when you have that, right? Like I've seen like like brandy black peppercorn sauce, or you see a lot in kind of the going back to the whole barbecue realm, right? Like whiskey barbecue sauce or bourbon barbecue sauce kind of stuff, and that adds a little something extra to the sauce.
Yeah, and if you think about the flavor profile, as we were saying, so the mayo has that richness, has that kind of creaminess, right? The ketchup has a tanginess, and the mustard too. Mustard has a different kind of tanginess, right? So that's the top three ingredient, and then the Jägermeister adds that bitterness that you don't expect from a sauce, and it's very slightly bitter, right? I'm not saying like bitter melon or like super super bitter kind of thing, but it just adds a little bit of that bitterness to it that rounds out that flavor. So to me, this sauce is special in the sense that it's not overly rich in one category.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that it actually kind of adds that. So if I were to up this one, I'll probably add chili powder, a little bit of paprika, just kind of bring a little heat. Then it's gonna round out this sauce even more, and make it extra special.
Yeah, and I think it's a great balance of flavors. I would love to try it. The way I balance flavors, right? If I were to go for like a go-to sauce that I would use. And when I shared this with John the first time, he kind of flipped out at me because apparently there's no
Wait
use for
for it.
this anywhere.
Wait for it.
To me, my go-to condiment actually, if I'm making burgers at home, because I believe to me this is kind of the simplest way, is steak sauce, like A1.
So A1 steak sauce, like your grandparents go to like Sizzler, and it's like right next to your table, that giant A1. Yeah, that one.
Right. To be honest, like when I go to the Habit, like that's my go-to, like from the condiment bar.
Yeah, I don't know
And
anyone who actually uses that, but apparently.
right. So here's my take on it. Right. Like A1, like if you're using it on steak, there's something inordinately wrong with your steak.
Or you.
I didn't want to go there, but sure.
Well, you like well
But
done steak, so anyway.
but there's a thing with A1 where it has that extra tanginess, which is what you're looking for, right? Like I do enjoy kind of really tangy things. I like kind of a lot of acid forward kind of sauces. When I eat like dumplings, my parents always laugh at me because I put like more vinegar than like soy sauce in my dipping sauce. A1 is just like it has that extra tang to it that is a really great flavor but it is not like I wouldn't recommend it for like everything.
Okay.
If you're eating like a pretty neutral burger like with other fixings, right? So if I'm like Five Guys or even sometimes the Habit, like if you are inclined to and you feel like the A1 is very overwhelming because the lettuce and tomato is just so neutral, you mix in a little bit of mayo, right? And you're essentially making like an A1 kind of mayo, pseudo mayo peppercorn sauce that like Red Robin does, which they would serve with like shoestring fries or like shoestring onion rings. But if I'm doing it at home, I'm looking for that similar balance that John was talking about, right? Like, and so you have that really strong, rich tanginess from the the A1, which you smooth out with a little bit of mayo. I usually tend to then try to pick like a really sharp cheddar that's going to cut through that a little bit. And for my greens, I don't use lettuce because I'm looking for something to kind of round out. And so what I really like is I use baby arugula because that has that slightly bitter herby kind of note that I think kind of is what Jonathan is talking about when he says that slight bitterness that sort of rounds out the flavor. And so together, right, the sharpness of the cheddar, the tanginess of the A1, and the bitterness of the herb just complement the burger very well. And so that's really the go-to burger to me that I make at home because to me that's the simplest from making it perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give A1 enough credit. Ultimately, it's kind of I mean, it's tangy. It's kind of like a Worcestershire sauce base kind of thing, but it's a little thicker than that. So and adding that condiment or adding that ingredient into other things kind of really does balance out a lot of a lot of flavors. So I wouldn't have it kind of as standalone, as a standalone condiment, but adding it in as an ingredient, I've heard weirder things, right? But again, it's kind of like the whole, are you a malt vinegar guy for your fish and chips or are you not? Are you, yeah, I think really that. But here's one for you, maybe a curveball.
Sure.
Cheese sauce. Is that like a condiment? Is that a fixing? Is it both?
So when you say cheese sauce, do you mean kind of like whiz, like queso, or like
Let's do both.
like
So queso or cheese whiz, right?
um when it comes to like whiz, and I think of like you say cheese sauce in the sense of cheese whiz, right? The natural thing to think of is a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, yeah.
and that's kind of where you're going with that. Um, I I can see where some people might try it. I don't know if that's exactly like a burger would be exactly the right place for me personally. Just because if I have that, I'd kind of be looking for the texture of a Philly cheesesteak rather than a texture of a burger.
Okay. Okay. And so for like a queso kind of runny, not so yeah, kind of runny kind of sauce.
Yeah, I think in general, just when it comes to like a cheesy kind of product, I don't know if I want it that runny.
Okay.
Right? Like I like a good melted cheese, but I don't know if I want like a bechamel on top of my burger.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Um, that kind of goes with your um oh, what do you call it? Breakfast item, right? Uh, Kind of a hollandaise sauce, bechamel kind of thing. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah, I see. I see what you're saying.
I mean, would you go for a queso burger?
I'll try it. I mean, of
Sure.
course, again, going back on the it must kind of match, it be coherent. If it's a Southwest kind of theme, maybe there's like jalapenos in it, like a little bit of nacho cheese style, then I would do it. Maybe strips of tortilla. Again, I wouldn't knock it until I tried it, but it does kind of overpower the burger a little bit.
Yeah, to me, it's already moving more towards kind of like, I'm not saying that it would taste bad or it's not a good dish, but it's moving more towards a what I personally would consider like a non-burger dish. Like it's moving into that realm of like a chili, open-faced chili burger.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm gonna try it. I will devise a recipe, using kind of not a southwestern style, but more of um a Latin American kind of flair to it, if you will, or nacho cheese, or a white queso. Maybe a white queso would be better than a nacho cheese. That's kind of
I mean,
my intuition right now.
would you would you would you season the burger with like taco
No,
seasoning?
no, then that will be a non-burger, right? Again, that's the thing. That's the fusion part of it. That it must be a burger that's seasoned with salt, pepper, a little bit of actually. So this was also in the in the recipe. A little bit of brown sugar, kind of get that Mayo reaction going. That kind of burger, with a white queso, um, and again strips of tortilla maybe. So again, I would do it that way.
Yeah, I think it could work. I mean, like I like salsa on burgers, so I don't think, and salsa generally goes pretty well with queso, so I don't see why it wouldn't taste good. I just, yeah, it wouldn't. That wouldn't be the burger that would like jump out at me on a menu. For you, what would be the weirdest kind of topping that you've seen on a burger, or maybe what's the weirdest burger that like concept that you've heard a lot about and then finally tried and you're like, maybe you really liked it, maybe you're like, this is kind of weird.
So I think two
Okay.
major weird kind of burger concepts. They're both kind of there's an Asian flair or whatever. The first one is teriyaki sauce. Teriyaki
Okay.
sauce. So the Habit actually has a teriyaki burger where you have your normal your bun, your fixings. There's a pineapple, and then there's teriyaki sauce.
Mm-hmm.
The typical kind of, hey, if we think of teriyaki, it must be kind of this kind of general direction.
Sure.
And so I liked it. I don't know if I'll reorder it, but I liked it. Um, it reminded me of a Subway sandwich, of that kind of teriyaki chicken sandwich. So that is
Sure.
weird. I mean, it's not weird in the sense of like, the ingredients is weird. It's just like it made the burger kind of a little weird.
It doesn't feel as much like a burger, right? Because I think, and I'm with you on that in the sense of I think, personally I'm not like 100% on board with this whole like sweet and savory at the same time kind of thing.
Yeah.
right? And so like when I have a teriyaki burger, right? Like I enjoy it. Like I enjoy beef teriyaki. I enjoy, pineapple. Um, and just FYI out there as a PSA, don't call it a Hawaiian burger because all the Hawaiians will get super offended.
Because it's first of all, it's going off of a Hawaiian pizza, which is not Hawaiian already, and then now you're gonna go say it's a Hawaiian burger, right?
I had a good friend who was Hawaiian, and the way I would get him riled up is like saying that we should go out and get a Hawaiian burger, by which I meant teriyaki pineapple burger.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, like you just kind of like teriyaki inherently is really sweet. The pineapple is really sweet. I do like that kind of grilled warm kind of sweetness added to it, but there it is just kind of like I don't know if this is really what I'm looking for in a burger, right? And so like the burger concept to me, I've never tried this, but it feels like it would be weird and maybe I want to try it sometime is there's a lot of ballparks that do like the Krispy Kreme burger where they serve the
Okay.
burger on a Krispy Kreme donut instead of a bun.
Okay. Hmm. Interesting. I wait. What? Which ballpark? I mean, I don't know if you know from the top of your head.
I feel like it's like a minor league ballpark in the Midwest somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
But I feel like there's also more than one that probably does it. This one was special because what they would do is they'd slice the Krispy Kreme in half and then they'd grill it, but then they'd stack it upside down so the glaze side was in the middle so you don't get glaze all over your fingers.
Yeah, I don't know. That I mean, that's not the condiment, right? That's that's the
Right,
bun and all that, which is weird.
right.
But yeah, yeah, I can see how
I
weird
mean, the
that is.
glaze kind of becomes a condiment. Yeah.
So again,
Anything
I
else?
said two. So the second one I would have to say is uh, a buffalo sauce or a buffalo style kind of aioli or a mayo sauce. That is
Okay.
weird to me. I mean, I like tang. I like buffalo wings. I like mayo. I wouldn't mind a buffalo, mayo, buffalo aioli, to go with my fries. But kind of as a burger, because you want something spicy, right? Sometimes chefs do that, and that's just weird.
Yeah, buffalo profile I feel like was especially created for chicken, and having it on anything non-poultry just feels wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind a buffalo chicken, sandwich, buffalo chicken sandwich kind of thing, but on a burger, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, buffalo sauce is my go-to when I go to like Chick-fil-A, but I would probably never ask it if I went to like Burger King or Wendy's to put on my burger.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah, it's just something about buffalo sauce, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Frank's Red Hot. Maybe it's the butter. It just doesn't seem to pair well with beef
yeah.
as a source of heat.
Agreed. So
I think yeah,
yeah, for you,
yeah,
I mean, again, aside from so we got the Krispy Kreme one. I mean, which is kind of,
sure,
I mean, that's not. I
yeah.
maybe
No,
not,
I
maybe
was just
not,
saying
but
it's that's not the weirdest condiment. I was just saying that as a kind of a thing where it's like I can see where a really sweet burger is may not necessarily be like it's there's something jarring about it
yeah, yeah.
cognitively. I think for me, um, I know this is a really popular burger. I just like and I've had a couple of them and I don't dislike them, but I don't really like them either because it's always kind of funky to me. I know it's supposed to be funky, but maybe it's just too funky for me, which
Hmm.
is bacon and blue.
Okay.
So bacon and blue cheese.
Wait, hold
Um,
on, hold on. Is
just
that a fixing or is that a condiment?
a condiment. Uh, okay, so the blue cheese, I would kind of put it in sort of a both and category,
Okay.
just simply because it's the blue cheese that more throws me off than bacon. And there's usually nothing else on it, right? Like it's just bacon and blue cheese, and the way that blue cheese crumbles kind of melt is always kind of weird texturally, and then the flavor is just very intense when you get that larger crumble that just didn't really melt right. and just kind of very intense sudden blue cheese explosion.
Yeah, I mean, blue cheese is obviously one an acquired taste, and two, it there is just that kind of funkiness that it's hard to shake.
Yeah. Um, One that I've seen, actually the only place I've seen it is the counter.
Okay.
And it's what they call steak sauce. Their steak sauce is actually au jus,
Okay.
which I always
Is it
found
is
to
it
be
kind of
really
like watery au jus, or is it
yeah.
more?
No, it's like French dip au jus.
Okay, that's
And
interesting.
so they serve it to you on the side, and I'm like, I don't really know how I'm supposed to put
You
this
dip the
on my
burger
burger,
in like a
and
French dip.
I guess. So yeah, that for me was the weirdest one I've ever like had, and there's just kind of like I understand the concept of au jus, but on a burger, right? Like, because the whole point of au jus in like a French dip, right, is to get the bread soggy, but that seems very like exactly what we don't want in a
Yeah, I mean,
burger.
it's getting the bread soggy, it's saturating it with that kind of that a little bit of roast dip, a little bit of herby flavor, but yeah,
Right.
it's weird. But now I guess kind of this ties in a little bit, but general recommendations: what condiment shouldn't go on a burger?
Um, it's less to me. It's less of what condiments shouldn't go on a burger, but more of a being discerning about like what condiments shouldn't go on a burger together.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there's a lot of leeway in terms of like what condiments can go on a burger, but it's just kind of keeping in mind like don't pair certain condiments, right? Like steak sauce and salsa, probably a bad idea. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
so we kind of mentioned some like mayo, very safe.
Yeah.
Probably not what we're looking for. Sorry, Shake Shack. Probably not what we're looking for in terms of like a primary flavor profile,
Uh huh.
but it's very safe, and it kind of keeps you from overwhelming the burger with a different flavor.
And I think that's where I was gonna go. That what condiment shouldn't go on a burger? Not there's no one. There's it's not a perfect answer like anything like that, right? But if that burger, if that condiment overpowers the burger, for example, like garlic, great. Garlic sauce, maybe. But if it's like just a punch of garlic, kind of in your face kind of thing, not so much, right? If for example, steak sauce, as you said, if it just kind of overpowers that burger, it's trying to mask something, masking a bad burger. Yeah, not the greatest. And I think that's kind of my recommendation of condiments should not overtake the star of the dish. Again, Food Network, kind of thing, Chopped, right? If you go, well, what's the star of the dish? The basket ingredients. Well, the basket ingredients here in a burger is that, the bun, the burger patty, the flavor of the beef, and, also the fixings. So the condiment really complements those things and tie it together rather than overpower it. So teriyaki sauce, for example, again, that kind of overpowers it most of the time.
Yeah, it's so yeah, just generally you want to be aware of very uh strong flavored condiments, and the recommendation is if you really like that flavor, right? John just mentioned garlic. You want to sort of tone that down a little, and mayo is great for that. So you make a garlic aioli,
Yeah.
and that'll probably work really well. Another condiment that comes to mind that can be popular, but on its own would be, I think, very overpowering, would be something like horseradish.
Yes. Yes, for sure. Yeah. And again, it might be that if you put that condiment to the side and add it next to your fries as a dipping sauce, or your onion rings, that actually makes it a more even more coherent dish and that would be great rather than just kind of flopping it on to the burger. That's probably my recommendation.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's also, yeah, just remember moderation. You don't want your burger just with everything dripping out.
Yeah.
There's a there's one thing that we don't really take into we kind of take for granted, and is just kind of one of those things that when you really stop and think about it, it's kind of um, it's almost kind of amazing in a certain sense of like the exact proportions of condiments that you get in like fast food burgers, right? We talked about the McDonald's cheeseburger,
Hmm.
and it's that perfect blend of ketchup and mustard.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's probably
There's not
because of bottom line, but but yeah, yeah, you don't want to overpower your you're the star of the dish. Well,
right.
anyway, it seems like we've beaten this thing to the death, and condiments. This seems like it's a check off the checklist. Think so, Jonas?
Yeah, and definitely I think so. I think we've talked about it all we can talk about it. Definitely, we want to hear from you in regards to maybe what are some condiments that you really like, or what are some secrets to how you make your secret sauce that you would love to share with us, or maybe what is something that we just completely missed in terms of a great condiment that would work well on burgers. We would love to hear from you in the comments down below about that.
Yeah, and for our YouTube fans, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon next to it, and also just review some of the older stuff that we talked about. What a good burger is, or what are the ultimate fixings, and comment there too. Just get a conversation going. I know it's a little crazy right now in terms of the pandemic, but just hey, stay cool, have a burger, and really just enjoy time with family and time with others, even if you are physically distant from them.
All
Anything else,
right.
Jonas?
I think we're good. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time.
See ya.